Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Kalasanji Radha Kalasanji Shri Radhe Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Shri Radha Madhava ki jai. Shri Radha Kalasanji ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. If we can all read together the invocation verses. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devyam sarasvatim visyam tato jayam yudirayat. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and to Sri Vyasadeva, the Yasu. Nasta prayasaya breshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utamasloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyantimarandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshuranmiti Hamyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer respectful obeisances unto him. Okay, so if we could turn to 332.6. So we're reading 332, Canto 3, chapter 32. We'll go through verses 1 through 7. But if we could start with 6 today, we're going to start with 6, do the Sanskrit, go through the translation and the purport by His divine grace, and then we'll come and read through them. The verses really nicely go with the topic here and like really lay it out nicely. And that topic being religion performed for detachment and religion performed for sense gratification. So, let's start with 332.6. Okay. Navritti dharma niratya. Navritti dharma niryata. Nirmama nirhankartaha. Nirmama nirahankrataha. Svadharma patena satvena. Svadharma patena satvena. Parisudena chetasya. Parisudena chetasya. Nivritti dharma niryata. Nirmama nirhankarataha. Svadharma patena satvena. Parisudena chetasya. Please, Bolo. Mother Kunti, would you please go ahead? Nivritti dharma nirata. Nirmama nirhankaritaha. Svadharma peta satvena. Parisudena chetasaha. Nivritti dharma nirata. Nirmama nirhankrita. Sadharma pita satvena. Parisudena chetasa. Anybody else? Nivritti dharma niratya. Svadharma petena satvena parisudena chetasaha. Nirma nirhankrataha Svadharma petena satvena parisudena chetasaha. Word for word, please, everybody together. Oops. Haha. Tricked ya. Navritti Dharma in religious activities for detachment. Nirattaha, constantly engaged. Nirmamaha, without a sense of proprietorship. Nirhankrataha, without false egoism. Svadharma, by one's own occupational duties. Aptena, executed. Satvena, by goodness. Parisudena, completely purified. Cetasa, by consciousness. Just so we read the translation and purport, please.
By executing one's occupational duties, acting with detachment and without a sense of proprietorship or false egoism, one is posted in one's constitutional position, by dint of complete purification of consciousness. And by thus executing so-called material duties, he can easily enter into the kingdom of God.
Purport. Here the word nivritti dharma nirata means constantly engaging and executing religious activities for detachment. There are two kinds of religious performances. One is called pravritti dharma, which means the religious activities performed by the grihamedis for elevation to higher planets or for economic prosperity, the final aim of which is sense gratification. Every one of us who has come to this material world has the sense of overlordship. This is called pravritti. But the opposite type of religious performance, which is called nivritti, is to act for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Engaged in devotional service in Krishna consciousness, one has no proprietorship claim, nor is one situated in the false egoism of thinking that he is God or the master. He always thinks himself the servant. That is the process of purifying consciousness. With pure consciousness only can one enter into the kingdom of God. Materialistic persons, in their elevated condition, can enter any one of the planets within this material world, but all are subjected to dissolution over and over again.
So we have Navritti Dharma and Pravritti Dharma. And Srila Prabhupada explains that Navritti is constantly engaging in executing religious activities for detachment, whereas the opposite, Pravritti, religious activities performed with the final aim of which is sense gratification. Completely different motivations and completely different results. So if we could go to 332.6, please, or 1, excuse me. The title of chapter 32 is Entanglement in Fruitive Activities. Okay. Will somebody read? So we'll go through each one. We'll read one and then we'll talk about it a little bit. So it won't just be do. So if somebody would read 332.1, please.
Next one. The personality of Godhead said, the person who lives in the center of household life derives material benefits by performing religious rituals, and thereby he fulfills his desire for economic development and sense gratification. Again and again he acts in the same way.
So Srila Prabhupada explains that there's the Grihamedi and the Grihasta. Which one are we trying to be? Grihasta. Yes. Why the Grihasta? What's the objective of the Grihasta? Oh. Yes. Hmm. Perfect. Thank you so much, Mother Kunti. And in this this desire from the great Mary for sense gratification, they find themselves in a loop of constantly trying to gratify their senses. They gratify their senses because they get some kind of reaction from their work, and then they have to again go back to working and trying to gratify the senses. And Prahlad Maharaj in the Srimad Bhagavatam explains this as, what does he explain it as? The what? A dark well? A dark well?
Blind well.
A blind well? But he also calls it chewing the chewed, right? So this is like chewing the chewed. We go and we make some endeavor, we get some result, we try it out, and then that result is done, and so we go back to working for sense gratification again. Prahlad says, they prefer to chew the already chewed. Again and again they experience the material pangs, even if they are rich and prosperous. But they do not want to give up this kind of life. So you'll see this in really gross situations like alcoholics. Alcoholic will drink, and they'll get they'll get intoxicated, but then the next one they have to even try harder, and they have to try harder, and they have to try harder, and they have to try harder till where their body just like shuts down and kills itself, because it just doesn't work. It's the spiral to hell, right? And so anybody else can think of any material examples of what it's like to constantly have to endeavor for more sense gratification and what it does. Mother Kunti? The donkey's always the donkey's always thinking, this carrot's in front of him, I'm going to soon enjoy this carrot, and the carrot never comes. Or, after a long day of working, then the master gives the donkey the carrot. Where the donkey, if it wasn't just so focused on the carrot, could literally just eat the grass on the side of the road. Any other situations? Just so you were raising your hand, did you have a thought? No? Okay. Okay, let's go to 332:2.
Such persons are ever bereft of devotional service due to being too attached to sense gratification, and therefore, although they perform various kinds of sacrifices and take great vows to satisfy the demigods and forefathers, they are not interested in Krishna consciousness, devotional service.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mother Kuti, I apologize for that. So this verse, I kind of started too early. I was excited. Oh, these brahmacharis and brahmatrinis. You guys want to hear about Grihastha life? Sit down. So in the Bhagavad Gita, this verse is almost directly spoken by Krishna, right? 2:44. It says that for those whose minds are too attached to material opulence and sense gratification, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service does not take place. So the Grihamedi is so chasing the carrot that they have no sense of what's best for them, how they can get out of it. They're just so focused on the sense gratification, and they're bewildered, completely bewildered by this cycle of happiness and distress. Okay, 332:3. Drista, please.
Such materialistic persons, attracted by sense gratification and devoted to the forefathers and demigods, can be elevated to the moon, where they drink an extract of the soma plant they again return to this planet.
So, trying to gratify their senses, they get better and better and better at it. Making some progress, right? So they start, let's worship the demigods. That sounds like, I heard in this Veda, or I heard from this wise person, that if I really want to gratify my senses, I'll go to the demigods. And so this is condemned in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, right? We can go to, would you mind going to Bhagavad Gita 9:21, Drista? Please. Would you mind reading that translation and purport? Let's hear what Srila Prabhupada says about that.
When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure, and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death.
Don't worry about the purport. We can see in this translation, and Srila Prabhupada, of course, explains it so much more clearly in the purport, but for time, we can understand that though they're getting the same result in one sense, right? In the sense of that your pious activities, your yagya, your tapasya has given you some kind of sense gratification, and then it becomes through, you're done with it, and then you have to come back to the material world, on the material plane. So I was wondering, I was reading this, and I was like, in the Eastern world, they understand this demigod worship, right? But in the Western world, we don't so much understand this demigod worship. We're not so privy to it. So I was wondering, is there any kind of correlation in the Western world to understanding how to this worship of demigods? Anybody have any thoughts on that? Oh, sports stars?
And singers, pop stars, and actresses, famous people.
So these are our demigods. Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, so talking about demigod and Western civilization. So Eastern civilization, little more complex than what it says in Bhagavad Gita. Demigods are worshipped in a way of they think that it's still a part of Krishna. So some worship as a ansh of Krishna, whereas some people worship more detached from Krishna, and again it's for self gratification and self elevation. So it's just a mix worded there.
Yeah. And so in the Western world, we don't have this demigod worship. We're in Christianity, they call it idol worship, and they were really condemned in these ways. So we moved to things like Premamrita was saying, like, not things, but people like sports stars or big influential people. Right now we have YouTubers and stuff like that, and we start to take that what they say is word. It's the word, right? You can be a sports person and you can have no qualification at all, but then you can start a podcast after you're done and you're retired, and everybody wants to hear what you have to say. Similarly, there's these people who are like motivational speakers, speaking about, if you actually start listening to them, they're speaking on words, they're speaking on the laws of nature. It's quite often about, give, and if you don't worry, just give, just keep giving that thing that you want, and you'll get it in return. So they speak on karma, So yeah, we also have some understanding of putting people on a pedestal to try to get something. Basically, that's the point, right? We're trying to hear from them to get some kind of sense gratification. Oh, this person's doing so well at it. They're doing, they're sports stars, or they're rich and stuff like that. So they must know, they must be clued in on how to do this nicely, right? So let me try like that. Okay, if we can go to the next purport, 34. 4, 32:4.
All the planets of materialistic person, including all the heavenly planets, such as the moon, are vanquished when the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, goes to his bed of serpents, which is known as Ananta Seva.
So before we start the next two, which you'll see a shift, there's going to be a shift. I wanted to mention that I was thinking about this when I was reading. I was like, this is what Narada Muni is speaking to Vyasadeva in his lamentation, right? Vyasadev's lamenting because he's not finding he's not satisfied. He's not satisfied in the writing of the Vedas, right? And he's wondering what's wrong, and Narada Muni comes. And Narada Muni says, you simply encouraged people to for sense gratification in the name of religion, right? And this will never make anybody happy. So in Srimad Bhagavatam in the early, we have already understand that this will not make us happy. This demigod worship, this obtaining great sense gratification due to our religious, pious activities won't make us happy. But here, in 32 and 5 and 6, we get a shift here. Somebody read 5, please.
Text 5. Those who are intelligent and are of purified consciousness are completely satisfied in Krishna consciousness, freed from the modes of material nature. They do not act for sense gratification. Rather, since they are situated in their own occupational duties, they act as one is expected to act.
So, a great example we have here is of Arjuna, right? Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. He's acting on his duty for the gratification of Krishna, right? In fact, Arjuna in text 7, right? He says, now I'm confused about my duty. I have due to miserly weakness. Now I'm asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. I'm your disciple, a soul surrendered to you. Please tell me for certain what is best for me. And Krishna speaks Bhagavad Gita. So this is the attitude of the pious person who's looking for to walk a religious life of detachment. And Krishna explains to Arjuna that you still do your duty, still act in a way that you're in Krishna consciousness, but don't be attached to the fruits of it. So detachment for the person who's on the Navritti marg is that they're becoming less detached or non-interested in material life and being attached to spiritual life. And then we'll read 6 one more time, if you wouldn't mind, please.
Text 6. By executing one's occupational duties, acting with detachment and without a sense of proprietorship or false egoism, one is posted in one's constitutional position, by dint of complete purification of consciousness. And by thus executing so-called material duties, he can easily enter into the kingdom of God.
So I would like to kind of, in the last 5 minutes, is with the thought of how does the devotee, we're practicing Krishna consciousness, we're giving our lives to devotion to Krishna, and we aren't so interested in the nivritti path in the sense of religious activities, but our goal is our connection with Krishna, our relationship with Krishna. But we're performing these different religious activities, right? So my question for you guys is, how does the pravritti marg, path, come to render its ugly head in the devotee's life? Do we experience pravritti? Are we experiencing it all, or are we above that? Or does it come into our life in some way? And if it does come into our life, what does it look like? Anybody have any thoughts on that? It's based on material desires.
So we have a chance to turn our material desires into spiritual desires. So pravritti versus nirvana. Pravritti marg means one who's following their material desires and acting in such a way to fulfill them.
So in Krishna consciousness, we have a process of dovetailing, right? We have these things that we have detached. We were attached to them in the sense of sense gratification, but we're learning the process of dovetailing in Krishna consciousness or offering from Krishna. So we're learning to purify them. Yes? Yeah. No, that is nice, Mother Kunti. Thank you. Yes, Kaylee. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for class. Yeah, I really appreciate all the points. I have a question about this dovetailing because it comes up a lot, and I'm curious.
Could we save the question? Let's stick. It's okay. Let's stick with the what does the pravritti? Because we're not quite at question and answers here. So I just want to end on this point, and then we can go on questions and open it up. No problem. So one thing that I thought is that when we bring our material consciousness, our conditioning, to our religious practices or our devotional service, is that we still have an attachment for sense gratification to it. We're not completely pure, right? So we have to really look and see what is our motivation when we're performing devotional service. And for the devotee, we really need to be resolute in the fact of thinking and becoming conscious of our activities. I was thinking that we're warned that fame is one thing that really is one of the last entanglements of the devotee, right? That because they're doing devotional service, because Krishna says to Arjuna, look, I've already done it. Everything's already done. You just do it as a service to me, and you know what? You'll get all the fame and all of the fruits will be yours. Arjuna, of course, being the pure devotee, isn't interested in those, but that's how devotional service is. It's already done by Krishna. Everything has already been arranged, and we have an opportunity to do it with a pure heart that I'm just doing it for Krishna. But if we get tripped up on the fact that, we are starting to see this, we're starting to get our sense gratification in the sense of people are recognizing me, I'm getting appreciated for my service, I'm getting, I'm starting to be able to, I know so many verses, or these things, right? And people appreciate it. Devotees are already so kind. We're already looking for ways to appreciate other devotees. But so we have to be really keen to take inventory. Why am I doing this? Am I doing, is there a sense of desire and sense gratification for my own self? And if we can be very attentive and intentional in our devotional service with the fact that it's for Krishna, Krishna is the goal, and then we can easily see when those other things start to seep into our life. We can see when they start to poke their ugly head into there, and we go, I don't want that, and we can move it off to the side and make sure that it doesn't hurt our devotional service. Okay, Mother Kunti, please.
Just one little point. I want to add to what you said, and sometimes it manifests as anger, lust, and greed. So there you'll see little nuances that sometimes come out in dealings. They're based on anger, lust, or greed. And that's usually based on material desires.
Yeah, and at the same time, we will see these things. We should be supporting devotees, right? Because we're all going through this. Like, raise your hand if you're a pure devotee, right? I mean, come on. Like, it's pretty easy to tell when you just go through one day of nice Krishna consciousness, and you can see, your heart tugging and wanting these other things. So we should be very kind in the sense of when we see that other devotees are struggling, that we're, thinking about who we are in relationship to them. And that can mean sometimes it might not be appropriate in a sense to come up to that person and give them some words of encouragement. So we pray. But sometimes it might be appropriate to come talk to them. Hey, I see you're struggling. Maybe you have some friendship already with them, right? And then, anyways, I could go on and on about the different relationships we have. But the point is that you can be a well-wisher. If you really want to be a well-wisher, you can find out something to do something of benefit to that person. Whether it's coming up to Krishna, Kalashanaji, and saying, Kalashanaji, I think Nrsimha Rupa is struggling. He's the new temple president, and I know he must be going through so much. Please help him. Please be kind to him and help him with his intelligence and what to do and what not to do. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, I was being introspective though.
Yeah.
I see my own anger, lust, and greed.
Yes.
And I know when it comes out.
I could sense that you were talking about yourself, but I wanted to, and so sensing that, I wanted to make sure that we know that we need to be kind to each other and kind to, that yes, because I could also talk about mine. Yeah, right? Yeah. That's it really being kind to ourselves is being aware of these things and being practical in how we can take care of them. Right? If we're too hard on ourselves or too gentle, if we're too hard, then we don't make movement towards becoming better. And if we're too gentle on ourselves, we might not make that improvement on what we can do when we see it. So we have to be, kind and take action. Premamrita, you raising your hand?
Yes,
Very
Hare Krishna. Thank you for class.
Enthusiastically.
On that note of like being kind to ourselves when we're experiencing our narthas, specifically for pride, this has been a question that I've asked for so long, like since I started making spiritual, like since I learned how to do kirtan better, or I'm learning more verses, or I'm learning more temple etiquette, I know, what to do and what not to do in the temple, then I notice automatically in certain moments that I would think myself superior to somebody who doesn't know that temple etiquette, or who isn't as good at memorizing verses or whatever. And it's not something that happened on purpose. It was just like a natural byproduct. And I asked so many senior devotees about this. Okay, what do I do? Like every time I make some advancement, pride comes and steals it. And it's painful to see within myself. And one answer that I got from Mahatma Prabhu was very nice. He said, well, that's natural and that's going to happen. Just don't let it interfere with your service. Don't let it make you stop learning verses because you want to be humble, or stop leading kirtan because you want to be humble. But while you're reciting that verse that you memorized, or while you're leading that kirtan that you just learned, or while you're, paying obeisances and setting a nice example for others, with your temple etiquette, whatever it is, while you're doing those things, pray to Krishna to make you humble. Like recognize the pride and then just pray about it and continue to act to your fullest ability in that mood of like, please Krishna, help me to be the humble servant that I know you want me to be. And then we don't admonish ourselves for having the pride, but we use it as an opportunity to call out to Krishna.
Very nice.
I kind of got a small realization from your class. Recently, there's like this person who's junior to me, and then he like sent me like this mean text, and I was like, oh, that's so mean. Why would he say that to me? But I was kind of, with this class, able to kind of switch the perspective a little bit. Instead of saying like, oh, poor me, like, why am I being injustice in this way or something like that? It's like, this is a product of, like, if people are being mean to each other or something like that, they're probably going through a rough time. They're probably struggling with the modes or something like that. I was thinking if I can just carry that into my relationship with the devotees, sometimes there'll be like false ego flare-ups from like me or someone else or something like that. But instead of being so self-centered about, oh, it's all about me and people are like being mean to me or something, it's like, oh, maybe this devotee is having a hard time. Maybe they're, struggling with the modes or something like that. And then hopefully other people will look at me in the similar way when I do the same thing.
Yeah, this is part of what I've been really meditating on and really understanding is that when I see these things in myself or in others, I really try to think how best to serve, but in the way that I serve. I don't look at it's a process of making mistakes and stuff and understanding who you are in the relationship, people, because we have different relationships, but there's always something we can do to serve. There is, if we really dive down deep and figure out what can I do to serve this devotee. And a couple classes ago we talked about being a well-wisher, always being a well-wisher, and that's Srila Prabhupada was always knew how best to serve somebody. So if we at least get in the attitude of how best to serve somebody, then we may make some mistakes and this and that, but we'll get better, and Krishna will take care of us, and he'll help us grow in understanding who we are and how to best serve the devotees, which is non-different than how best to serve him. Yeah. Any other questions, comments, thoughts?
On kind of on Prema Rita's point, with the point you just made, I asked too, like, so we read the scriptures and they say, 1 in a million will come to Krishna consciousness, and it's so rare, and you can have all the good qualities in the world, but if you're not a devotee, it's all zeros. And so I was like, how do we understand that, and understand that we are practitioners of bhakti and stuff like that, and not have this judgment when we look at other people who aren't, or things like that. And they gave me this answer that it's, pride is the presence of the enjoying spirit we want to enjoy, but then service, humility is the presence of the total service attitude. So if we say, how can I serve these people? How can I give them Krishna consciousness? Then it's not, oh, I'm better, you're worse. It's, I'm in a position where I can I can serve them. I'm their servant, actually. It's not that I'm their master. I'm their servant, and that I want to give them Krishna consciousness in this way.
What came to my mind is actually something from you. Is you said the first look, like if you see a attractive person, the first look, but if you look again, then that's your fault. Okay, you're going to see your pride come. You're going to see your pride. You're going to see these things come, but do you keep going back to it, or do you keep on massaging the prideful situation, or do you say, yes, it's here, what can I do better to serve? So my point I'm trying to make is that it will come. Krishna is so kind, he's going to let us see our anarthas. He's going to give us an opportunity to shoo them away and to purify them. But if we look at it in the sense of devotional service, then we'll see it come, and then what best to do with it. So yeah. It's actually I guess what I'm trying to say is it's a gift that Krishna's even showing us that it's there. but what we do with it is now up to us. Am I going to, try to figure out how to get, to develop more of that sense gratification, or am I going to look how can I use it as a learning situation? How can I learn how to purify my service more? Yes, Kaylee.
Hi, Krishna. Thank you, Justo, for the question. I also see this, and what I try to do is focus on the similarities. Even it might be different because Justo was never he was born into the movement, but at least for me, I can see myself in these other people. I've been there before, or even now that I'm practicing, I still struggle with a lot of things, and it just looks different. My struggle just looks a little bit different than their struggle. So then it kind of helps connect with someone on a very compassionate level. Okay, I've been there. This is what helped me. Maybe I can show this kind of same compassion for this person. And then in that way, it's performing devotional service in a way that we've been through, or we understand what people are going through. If we just kind of see someone and we just focus on the differences, then it kind of brings in pride. But if we can see ourselves in these people that Krishna is revealing to us, then we can connect compassionately, and it doesn't really come off prideful, I feel.
Very nice.
Kind of in that same vein, one instruction that Kalakant Prabhu gives, or gave me at least, is that with our juniors, we should always find at least one reason why they're superior to us. Always. And it becomes easier with practice. Yeah, and then I was also wanting to just state your point that you were making, because I was thinking the same thing, of that we should feel so fortunate when we can actually see and recognize our anarthas, because it's a sign, it's the first step of advancement, that we're able to now see, oh, I'm prideful. Whereas before we just didn't see it. It was always there, but we didn't see it. And the reason why we have to see it before we can get free from it is because until we see it, we don't want to be free from it. We don't have the desire. So Krishna is invoking that desire within us by showing us how bad it is. So especially when it's really flared up, when I'm feeling really proud or really having anger issues or whatever, then Krishna is being super merciful in those moments by giving me such an impetus to desire to be free from it. Because he doesn't do anything without our desire. So we have to desire to be free from it. So he gives us the chance to do that.
So we have two paths. One using religion for sense gratification, and one using religion for the process of detachment. As devotees, we're not so interested in religion. Krishna says at the very end of Bhagavad Gita, abandon all types of religion. But we understand that religion is a necessary thing. That's why Krishna has established it so many times in so many different ways. He's established over and over and over and over and over. So we need to look at ourselves and how we're performing our religious activities. Are more important, we need to look at how we're performing our sadhana, our devotional service, and try to purify our heart, try to serve the devotees, and Krishna will bless us with more service and deeper service. So, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Pramanande Hari Hari Bo, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha, Patitana Bharibhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nama, Antikoti Vaishnavavrinda ki jai. Thompson's pomegranate.
It looks like this is probably gonna do it again.
Oh, that's it, yeah.
If that was done. Krishna.
Casi 2 semanas. Tú sabes que nosotros siempre hablamos de la gripa en delgaza y se tiene que cuidar para que no.
Subir de peso
Es bien fácil.
pregúntamelo a mí. pero sí, vas a tomar prashara.
No tengo tanta hambre, pero nomás poquito.
Sí, prashara es muy importante.
Sí, es lo que me dice.
Súper importante.
Es lo que me dice.
Sí, ahí te llevamos también nosotros a comer. Habla español, perfecto.
Vamos a comer.
No tenía que dar reverencias a Krishna. Cuando tomamos Sharanamrita le damos reverencias, dale gracias. Quiero enseñar lo mejor que puedo.
No, enséñame. También a mí.
Claro.